All right, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Black Coffee and Crime. I believe this is episode 56. And this week we're going to talk about an urban legend that probably none of you have ever heard of because I didn't know this recently until recently. It's out of Alabama, and the urban legend, myth, true crime, murder, whatever it is the story of dead Darius. So we'll get to that. We'll also talk about some things currently in the news. But as always, my name is Brandy. We also have Brandy W and Jackie. So Brandy is back. So if y'all prayed, the prayers worked. She's much better this week. We still have our cameraman over there, Taylor, our cameraman. Although she is not currently working the camera, she is there as an intern this week. So
y'all pray for me.
Yeah, and we also have Jackie's assistant, Jennifer, is also available for any questions, fact checking that we may have. So it seems like I'm the only one without an assistant, which we're gonna have to work on that. I got to work on that. All right, so to new subscribers and viewers, we do thank you for joining us for these episodes and going back and watching previous episodes. As always, if there's anything that you want to see, any comments or questions or anything like that, you can always visit us social media, blackcoffeecrime.com. Info@blackcoffeecrime.com is our email address. So email us there or hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at Black Coffee Crime. And as always, be respectful because he ain't through with us yet. And the clapback game over here is still very strong and pretty spicy. So be respectful. If you don't like the show, that's fine. We do thank you for the view anyway. And you could tell us that you don't like it, and we're still gonna say thank you and wish you the best in finding something else to watch. So there's that. Any church announcements this week? Anything?
Yes, if y'all haven't noticed, one of our hosts looks different. I don't know why she would skip over that.
Oh, but it wasn't a big deal. So
it is a big deal.
So every couple of years, I will grow my hair out. For the past 4 years, I've been growing my hair out. So I had locks, and quite just recently, they just ain't been acting right, and my hair is just doing its own thing. So I said,
"Show,
cut it off." So it's all gone now. It's all gone. But by December, in a couple months, my hair will be, Afro style again because it grows fast. Well, at least in previous decades, my hair has grown faster. In this 5th decade of life, I don't know if it's gonna continue to grow because when you're approaching your middle 40s, you don't really. I don't know. Jackie, you're not there yet, so we're not having this conversation with you.
I don't have to be either.
Brandy doesn't want to have this conversation. I'm okay with having this conversation. Considering that
she's not having it in a book.
There's no reason to have it with me.
Considering that we are of an age, she's not willing to have the conversation.
No, why not, Brandy?
Because I could have sworn we was in all the same classes in junior high and high school. All the same classes. So unless she was a child genius, I don't know. Oh, you're not gonna look at the camera? You're not gonna look.
Anyway. Y'all look amazing. They don't look nowhere near the age that they are giving out anyway. But
thank you. Well, anyways, pray for my.
I just want to make one little announcement that the children's choir is rehearsing and down the hall, so you might hear, a little, the children's choir.
A little Coco Melon in the background.
Yeah, they might be singing.
Coco
Melon is leading out.
So practicing.
Yeah.
All right. And just as an aside, I'm not gonna say this person's name, because I just won't. But Brandy and I have a friend who has. If I tell you this is the most beautiful soul in the world, always has been, you walk into the room, her smile is as big as all outdoors. And genuinely beautiful person. And if I tell you she has been going through these past couple of years, and over the past month or so, it has really turned into like a big ball of tragedy for her, and her family, but especially for her. She's lost her mother and her husband within the span of a week and a half. Um, so we just want to say, if you are a genuine person, now we don't want nobody out there just saying prayers. When you say, I'm gonna say a prayer and that's the prayer, we don't need that. We don't need that. We need for real prayer warriors, people with genuine hearts. Just to, if you know anybody who's gone through something like that similar, then you know what that feels like. And at this point, we just have I don't even have any words to, you can't comfort this. And it's just really hard for, someone that's going through that much. So we just want to extend our hearts and prayers to her and her family. And
Definitely.
we hope that the rest of you do the same. So those are our church announcements. Govern yourselves accordingly. Please obey your ushers and respect your pastor at all times. All right. So, big news today. Just heard it this afternoon. We're going to big story. So your brother Robert Kelly, your boy, has been
Disgraced deacon.
When you think you can't get any worse for this man. I think he's more than disgraced at this point. So he's in prison already. He was going through a federal trial and I didn't know what the charges were, but apparently he's convicted on all 9 charges of racketeering, kidnapping, trafficking, human trafficking, and obstruction of justice. He was convicted today. What is today? September 27th.
27th.
2001. He was convicted today on all 9 charges in federal court. He could get a life sentence, y'all.
You said he got a life? I thought he wasn't gonna be sentenced till May.
Oh, that could be the potential sentence for him. They said the sentencing hearing won't happen until May of 2022.
Which was so long, but okay.
Where he going? Where he going? He's already in custody.
But does he still have to go back to Chicago and do those trials?
Yes. He has pending trials in Illinois and Wisconsin.
Yes.
So potentially what could happen is the prolonging of the sentence. It could be waiting pending those trials to kind of roll it all together. But in reality,
are these federal charges?
The conviction today was federal.
So they can just pile on all the other ones.
Yes.
If those are federal as well.
Right.
Those are state charges.
Oh.
Those are state. In Illinois and Wisconsin, those are state. This one's a federal trial.
Yeah, today was federal. I thought the other ones were.
Yeah. So just with the federal trial itself, he can face up to a life sentence.
Mr. Kelly.
And in reality, where is he gonna go? It's not like he's a flight risk or anything. He's already in custody. So why rush?
I mean, I don't know. It just seemed a long time.
He's already serving a long sentence. So it's not like he's gonna get the death penalty. So it's not any more punishment than what he already has.
Yeah.
The only thing is they could possibly move him to a federal prison. That's it.
You don't have the same issues as other men with these charges usually have, or will they be like, oh, it's R. Kelly, so like, is he gonna be in the special needs yard and all of that?
I think he'll probably.
I don't think so.
In a state prison, he would probably be in a protective custody unit just because he's a celebrity. In a federal prison, I don't think so.
I do not think.
Really,
Y'all just
I know you're
excuse.
talking about how convicted rapists and child molesters are like the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to prison hierarchy. Um, to be honest, I don't think that the majority of people, even the people who don't like R. Kelly, I don't think that the majority of the people really
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
consider this to be like child rape. And I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm just saying that most people don't consider it because there's a lot of other factors that
I
go
agree with
along
that.
with it.
I take it as child rape, but I agree with that.
Yeah, a
I
lot
mean,
of
it's
people
so
just
many
don't
people.
have that. You know, the considering the age of the victims, and I'm not victim shaming at all, so don't come at me. The age of the victims, the participation of the parents,
That's the problem right there.
the participation of the parents, and also, like I'm saying, the age of the victims. We consider at a certain age that you have a level of discernment to know that you should not go with this person. And then you have him being a part of a cult of celebrity. So these young girls and their parents were praying, listen to me good, preying on his celebrity, not him, but his celebrity. And in the end, you wanted to be a part of his entourage, his cult, and you were. And now you had to pay the pipe. Well, bad pun, but you had to pay the piper. And then the parents participated in this because you allowed your 15-year-old daughter to go to court with R. Kelly instead of going to school. And then you allowed her to
Make it
go
make
to his
sense.
house for a year.
Make it make sense.
So the vast majority of people are like, he dead ass wrong, but
You ain't
so
the
are
only
the
one.
parents.
Yeah, you
Just
ain't
They're
the only one.
Are is that distracting? The glare
no.
Mm.
is distracting me. I'm just making sure.
Take your glasses up.
Then I ain't gonna be able to see good.
Just look at the camera. I mean, you don't have to do that. But I just think that this is not a black and white clear cut case of child molestation and rape. There is a level of culpability to other parties involved in this, and so I don't think that most people think that this, he's wrong because he was an
I mean,
adult. He's an adult.
even if you watch like his that documentary, what is it called? I really can't remember. The R.
Surviving
Kelly.
R. Kelly.
Survivor.
Yeah, Surviving R. Kelly. Them parents. When Sparkle talked about her niece, who was the first victim that we really no, well, Aaliyah was the first victim. That's reality. And we ain't gonna get into that because we already know what's up with that as well. But that first, that third, the one that had the tape going around, that one was, that was Sparkle's niece, the artist.
Allegedly, because the girl said it wasn't her.
Well, of course she gonna say that. That's what they trying to do.
I know, but we have to, allegedly it's her.
Well, in that case, the whole situation is allegedly.
It's alleged.
That whole surviving, everything would be allegedly. Everything would be allegedly. Everything. The reality is, according to her,
Except that he's guilty.
the mama was a part of it, and her family was a part. It seemed like a lot of their parents were a part of it. That's not allegedly. That's the facts. They were a part of whatever was going on. That's what it was. It's just not R. Kelly. I definitely believe it's not just.
There was one girl who came over there to interview him. They told her to go in the room to wait for him to come. Put her in the room. She realizes that the lock is on the outside of the door. They leave her there for a couple of days. Feed her after 4 days. She passes out. And then she wakes up to, Robert Sylvester buttoning up his pants. Now that right there
was that reported to the police or no? Or is that
she testified in the trial?
But was that ever reported to the police?
I I don't know. I can't remember, but I know.
And that's the problem with a lot of, even let's go back to Bill Cosby, let's go back to Harvey Weinstein. A lot of this, and people can say, I can report it to police and they're not going to believe me, but at least it would be on paper. So a lot of these things are coming out in the trial or coming out after, and they're being witnesses. But where's the proof of this except for your story? And that's a problem with rape victims or any victim. It's me against the world. But where's the proof of your story?
That are now coming out telling the truth. I guess that's firsthand account.
Still not. Where's the proof of it? Where's your pictures? Why didn't you say anything before?
How do you prove that you've been molested unless you have bruising or whatever? How do you prove that you've been molested or raped?
In that case that you just said, you've been kidnapped for 4 days. Can anybody corroborate your story in your family that you were gone for 4 days? Was anybody looking for you?
Since she testified that, her there must have been some either she reported it or something. If she was testifying.
How old was she when she went to do this interview?
She was 23. She was a grown woman, but she was still raped.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, how old was she? I was asking how old she was.
23.
Just, I don't know. He's wrong. He's so wrong. But
absolutely, never taking the blame or anything off of R. Kelly.
But some of the parties, other surrounding parties regarding these women, they're wrong too.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. It's all wrong. Everything is wrong.
So these young women are victims of rapists and also victims of predatory family members, because you allowed this to happen, or you're turning the other cheek, looking in the other direction for whatever compensation that you'll get. And
mm-hmm.
And if the reason why everyone is now coming forward is because the compensation has ended, that's even worse.
Right.
That's even worse. So those other trials are pending. And again, R. Kelly will be sentenced on this federal case. 9 charges of racketeering, kidnapping, trafficking, and obstruction of justice, guilty on all counts. So he could be facing life. All right, we're gonna stop on R. Kelly because that's a whole rabbit hole of a show right there. All right, so the next thing is
we about to talk about our missing church member.
Yeah.
Who, Gabby or Jelani?
Who?
I'm talking about Mr. Price.
Yeah, Kelly Price.
I don't really want to talk about Kelly Price.
Why? I'm not laughing at what's happening. I'm laughing at your facial expression. I got to clear my name every time I talk. I'm laughing at your facial expression. Why don't you want to talk about it?
She didn't want to be found. Period. She didn't want to talk to nobody.
Well, she could have told us she wasn't going to be there to lead the choir.
She didn't want to talk to y'all. Which ain't none of y'all business.
She could have told us so we could get somebody to feed in for special music.
She said she didn't want to talk.
She was on the program.
Well, she's...
Baby, Kelly Price said, baby, I don't want to talk to nobody. And just
spoken up. She said that she, just now got her first clear COVID test since July or whatever. So, yeah,
that's still not an excuse. You can ask my mom right now. If I call her all day and she don't answer, like I'm blowing her up, And when I get her on the phone, I'll be like, "Where you been? You couldn't answer none of our calls." I will call my sister, go over there and tell her break into her house. What's going on? Why you didn't answer the phone?
Well, if your mom was married to like an old separatist, whatever, who didn't want you to talk to her,
she's had a couple raggities. Well,
then you ought to know. The point is, Kelly, all right, she didn't want to talk to nobody. She good. She could.
I'm still
She is.
rolling my eyes at her.
I don't know what else you want from her. She wasn't, apparently she was never missing. She just didn't want to talk.
Call everybody but her daughter, and her daughter is mad because she gonna go and say her daughter was manipulated, and the daughter says manipulated who? Who's manipulated?
I just think you're way too invested in Kelly Price. Obviously,
Sorry.
like she's emotional about this Kelly Price situation. Like all her emotions are involved in Kelly Price.
They said the girl, she was on the list. Matter of fact, she's still on the list, but she was on the list.
She ain't missing. She wasn't missing.
She was missing from her family and her children.
But she's an adult. She got a husband. She was under doctor's care. So everything that the attorneys were saying, they were right. She was never missing. She's fine. Now, more importantly, let's talk about Jelani Day, who was reported missing by his mama, and in Illinois, and he was found in the Illinois River on September 4th. The coroner didn't call his mama until September 23rd. This is a week after Gabby Petito had been found, and all this hoopla about her and how because it's the white kidnap syndrome where, you know, brown bodies don't matter. And so his mom, you know, Jelani Day had been in the news, well, you know, somewhat in the media for a minute, where his mom was looking for him. And there was no traction. But the entire time he was at the morgue. He had been found in the river. Now, according to People magazine, the police have not released his cause of death, but they're saying that it is unusual. But yes, he was found. He was a University of Illinois Illinois State University grad student. But they had him for almost a whole month. His mom is doing all this stuff, and you guys have him for a whole month. A month. And
I asked a plum ass on them people.
And apparently, I heard this, that the coroner, when they called her, they were really rude to her, and they were like, "Do you want to come and see if this is your son or not?" Like, what?
Then that's when you go see your son. Play it cool to go see your son, and then you turn around and cuss them fools out.
Right.
Okay. For real.
Right. So he's been missing since August. Let's see, his car was found in Peru, Illinois, August 26th. They did a canine search, ground search, aerial searches, and they didn't find anything. And then he was found in the river, recovered floating near the south bank of the Illinois River, approximately a quarter mile east of the Illinois Route 251 bridge.
So sad.
They're suspecting foul play. I have seen a video where this young man is knocking on a door, and they're saying that this is a person of interest in the case. So they're looking to identify the young man so they can find out what he knows about seeing him. Jelani was last seen at a dispensary. But you know, there's really no leads, but they're just saying that his death is suspicious. So they're really waiting on the autopsy results to determine his cause of death. Now, mind you, that boy's been missing over a month.
Babe, I mean, I'm for the ignorant.
Was missing for like a day, and the whole nation is standing out in front of her house, outside of Brian Laundrie's house. The dog, the bounty hunter, is now involved.
Big eye roll.
Okay, did you see my face?
When I found out, he is like the Al Sharpton of bounty hunting, okay? Oh my God. Like, why are you there? Take those stupid ass extensions out.
Off of him, with him calling folks niggas and she.
Right. And thinking it's okay.
He said he had a pass.
Yeah, he said he had a pass.
No, he didn't.
That's what he said.
First of all, take the mangy ass extensions out your hair. We know that's not yours.
How could he have a son as fine as Leland?
Oh, okay. Oh my God, Leland is so fine. I've always said that when I used to watch his show, I'd be like, he's so fine.
I don't know.
Really fine.
It had to be his mama. Leland looks like his mother.
Oh, he definitely look like that daddy because
He looks like
Leland
his
is
mother.
fine as hell.
Because I looked him up the other day.
Okay.
I looked him up the other day.
And Leland got he married to a sister, so he ain't trying
No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he ain't.
Huh?
No, he ain't.
He was.
No, he wasn't. He was married to.
Brother.
He was married. Leland was married to a Pacific Island woman who was like his mom's age for
Who
years.
has my girlfriend?
I don't know, but it wasn't Leland.
One of them had a black girlfriend.
He might have had a girlfriend, but he wasn't married to. He was married. He's been married twice. He was married to an older woman, a Pacific Islander, most likely Hawaiian, because that's where they lived. He was, and she's like 20 years older than him. And then more recently, he's married to a white woman.
Well, maybe he had a black girlfriend.
Maybe
Oh,
so.
and this other brother who wasn't on the show.
I don't
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The blonde haired
know.
he wasn't as cute.
It was one of them that definitely was dating the sister.
I don't know, but Leland is still fine.
And he is.
So Dog the Bounty Hunter is on the case, talking about they have a serious lead to Brian Laundrie.
Where'd he get a lead from? And the FBI don't got it.
Sorry.
If you want to find Brian Laundrie, get Black Twitter on him, okay?
Thank you.
But here's the thing: Black Twitter don't care. Don't care. It's sad. I'm not saying this is not a sad tragic situation. It is because of somebody's baby. But this is the thing that really struck me about this case is that she told the park rangers that she was in this was a toxic relationship. This tells you how white this crime is.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, y'all going across the country in a damn van. To do what?
They just travel
across the country traveling in a van. That is white privilege because regular people. That's not even white privilege. That's rich people privilege because regular people can't take off work and do that shit.
Well, I think that he might have been a little bummy.
Maybe so, but here's the thing: but if you are going to be traveling across the country with someone who is toxic, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. If y'all not in a good place, listen, you can't ride from Riverside, California to Vegas or LA to Vegas. That's 3.5 hours with somebody that you don't like.
Well,
you ain't be able to do it.
There's been many murders planned, talking about they going on a a mountain vacation or a beach vacation or.
That's what I'm saying. Why would you go on a vacation or somebody that you beefing with? Like me and Jackie beefing. We can't go to Houston. We can't go to Houston if we beefing. Do you know one of us is going to end up by that Sam Houston sign on the left side of the road?
And I'm scared of that sign.
You scared of Sam Houston sign?
I'm scared of that Sam Houston sign. That big old statue in the middle of the woods.
The middle of nothing.
It's scary.
Their relationship was toxic, period. So she probably thought, oh, how romantic.
No.
But then got in a fisticuff before she went missing, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they stopped the park ranger.
Can you say that word again? I've made me feel fancy for a second there.
And that's why you travel with your own money, so you can
fisticuffs, because she threw that in there. She threw the fisticuffs in there. Yeah.
It's so fancy.
That's just in my vocabulary.
It's a nice vocabulary. I would have been like, they were squabbing before they even got out.
That's why you carry your own money so that you can just go home.
I just what my daddy tells me. My daddy's been telling me that since day. He said, I don't care Who's taking you on a date? Don't you ever leave your house
If you don't
with
got
no
money.
money. You don't take that chance with
I
anybody.
just don't know, like at when the park ranger stopped them, or they stopped the park ranger. Why didn't you leave with them and say, "Look, I need to call my family. I need to go." You know, and again, I wasn't there, but I don't know.
That's
Listen,
interesting.
stop trying to make it right. Stop trying to make him a better person or her a good person.
Because you
If
can't.
it feels like it's wrong, get the hell out.
Because you can't. You can't change nobody.
Get the hell, especially if you're in a bad place somewhere. You all right, Brandy? Brand? Oh,
Y'all ain't picked up your kids for choir rehearsal yet. Being open. Being.
Oh man.
all right. We are going to go ahead and start talking about dead Darius. Um, there's a lot of urban legends, urban myths, that you tell your kids, people have told their kids year after year, decade after decade. Some of them turn out to be true. Some of them just turned out to be like an amalgamation of stories. Dead Darius is kind of like all of that. The amalgamation of stories. Some of it's true, or the circumstances could be true, considering other people. But basically, somewhere during the 1950s or the 1960s, this statue of the statue of a boy showed up in a neighborhood in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was a statue of this little boy. He was sitting there. He has these big eyes and he has this eerie smile on his face. And he's just sitting there. And as the seasons change, so does his clothing. He sometimes has summer clothes on. Sometimes he has winter clothes on. He'll have a hat on. He'll have a scarf on. So somewhere along the line, a myth, a story started about who he was. And interestingly enough, there is a blogger on YouTube, and her name was it Traciy Reyes? Is that what her name was? Traciy Curry-Reyes. She has a video on YouTube, and she went to it sparked some chord in her. So she's like, I have to investigate this and find out what this is. But basically, the story is that a little boy was struck by a car. There's a couple of different versions. Struck by a car, his mother was so grief stricken that she had him either stuffed or waxed. And she put him on the porch so everyone can see him as they go by. Another version of the story is he's still struck by a car, but she was so poor that she didn't have money to bury him, so she still had him stuffed or waxed. Now that kind of reminds me, the first version of that, kind of Emmett Till and Mamie Till, like, I want you to see what you've done. I want you to see what you've done to my son, so I'm going to put him on display kind of thing. So I don't know if that's a part of that myth, because that would have been contemporary to the time of Emmett Till's death. When he came from Mississippi to Chicago and she had the casket opened so that the nation could see what people were doing to young Black men. So he sat on this porch, dead Darius sits on this porch for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden, it's gone.
No.
The statue is gone. And no one knows what happened to it. There's barely any pictures of it. There's only like a few eerie looking pictures of it. And I tell you,
eerie.
It's the stuff of nightmares, okay? Let me tell you, Dead Darius is the thing of nightmares. If you've never seen a picture of this, I will post it. So it's kind of like the boogeyman myth. One of the residents, an older man, of course, he said when he was a kid, they wouldn't want to go by that house. It was like, no one wants to go by this house. And the house now was very hard for this YouTube blogger to find. She went through Google Maps to try to find it. But she finally found two houses that could possibly be the house where Dead Darius was. So she continues to look and continues to look. Come to find out, um, Dead Darius, no one really called him Dead Darius. No one knew who Darius was. No one who lived during that time in this neighborhood in Birmingham. I think was it like Elgin Hills or something like that, Brad?
El Eldridge.
Eldridge
El
Hills.
Eldridge Hills.
Yeah. Um, Eldridge Hills, which was a predominantly black it was a black neighborhood. It was very, segregated. But no one knew who Dead Darius was. So when she's looking for this, who is Dead Darius? Like, where did he live? What happened to him? She's getting blank stares because no one knows what the hell she's talking about. They're
And
like,
then she tries to go look at records, but for some reason, records from the 50s and 60s are just
gone up in a fire.
just burnt up.
When?
Which is odd.
When? When was there a fire at the police department in Birmingham? When?
Hmm.
I wonder. It's miraculous that it just destroyed those particular records, that just those. And that seems to be one of the comments on the YouTube video was like, is it curious that seems to happen a lot in southern towns that they burned, that the records in the hospital, the fire department, or the police department have suddenly just mysteriously burned down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's crazy because now you can't find any record of anything there. So she can't find anything, but she keeps digging. She keeps digging. So finally, she finds a family called the Taggart. She kind of like did this Sherlock Holmes deduction kind of thing because she finds that his name could be Timothy Tackett or Tucker. And she couldn't find those families, but she did find a Taggart family who lived on 11th Court, which was the street where Dead Darius was, sitting on the porch at. So she finds this family, prominent, wealthy black family, but they didn't have any kids.
Mm-mm.
So if they didn't have any kids, where's Dead Darius? So she keeps digging, and come to find out that Dead Darius was a statue owned by the Taggart family. Apparently, Jesse Taggart was a man who lived at 1122 11th Court. He had gotten the statue, his uncle or brother or something had gotten the statue from New Orleans at a World's Fair. And he brought it to his home and he passed away and he gave it to his relative, which was Jesse, and they had it. But people are still kind of like, well, what's in it though? Because it looks real. They did some testing. They found that there wasn't a body inside or any human remains inside the statue. It was just a statue. Another part of the myth that goes along with the myth is that there was a little boy. And this is why people thought that there was really something inside the statue, because there used to be a little boy that played in and around the Taggart's home before the statue got there. Well, the little boy would be there playing around every summer and all the time. And then all of a sudden he wasn't there, but then the statue was there. So as Miss Curry-Reyes is digging, she finds out that this man who was still alive at the time that she did this, he used to visit the Taggarts when he was a little boy, apparently. And his wife says that it was him. He was the little boy. He used to visit the Taggarts every summer. And then all of a sudden he just stopped coming. So that's part of the myth. But what Miss Traciy Curry-Reyes says is that the numbers, as far as the timeline, is not adding up to the little boy playing in the yard for summers and summers and summers, and then the appearance of Dead Darius. Now, again, Dead Darius doesn't exist because there is no one called Darius. So I have a question. Who Darius? Where did they get this name Darius?
So where do we get any names?
I don't know.
If he didn't exist, And it was the statue of the entire time. Where and no one contemporary to that time when the statue appeared, who people are now in their late 70s, 80 years old.
Ella Jean used to live there with her son Darius. Ella Jean had to move back to Mississippi because money was funny. She done packed up Darius and went on, and all of a sudden they ain't seen no Darius, and now all of a sudden it's a dead Darius. And this is a made up story, but it so could be true. Black
It's
folks,
so true.
you know how we make up stuff.
I would say you can just think about kids walking by, be like, "Look at Darius sitting over there. Ah, look at Darius," and then just that fast, he's Darius. I
And
do
the
it,
whole
so
time
I
it's
know.
me.
I do it, so I know.
It's just really curious to
I will
me.
give somebody a name in a minute.
And I will, Shirley.
The woman's name is
Look
not,
at Esther. We'll
and this
I'll
woman's
give
name is
somebody a
not
name.
Shirley.
Hmm?
I
And
just
what's some other names I done gave? Snacks. Everybody got a name.
First of all, I resent the way you say snacks. Okay, you didn't have
Well,
to
that was
drag
your
that
name.
word all the way across the screen.
Next.
Yeah,
Name. Worker bee. You remember I used to call a girl Worker bee?
worker bee.
I don't know what that girl's name was. Never did.
That'd be.
You wasn't trying to
That's
find
what
out what her name was.
Because her name was Snacks and Worker bee.
She already had a name. It was Snacks Worker Bee.
Who was that?
Snacks was from college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I messed around and called her Snacks to her face because she answered.
That Brandy does that to the point where she forgets that the people actually have names, and then she'll just call them by their name. But
I'm just saying we quick to give folks names. Quick.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
It's not uncommon.
it's not uncommon, but it's just that you have this whole.
It's random.
But again, no one who saw the statue while it was sitting on the porch called it Dead Darius. So when did they start calling the statue Dead Darius when no one who actually saw it called it that?
Well, there was a boy that was actually hit by a car. Maybe his name was Darius.
Maybe.
Yeah, because you remember it was a time frame. They said there had been like 4 children that had got hit by a car within like a 2-week time frame, and so it could have definitely been attached there.
He could have been Darius. Could have been one of the boys that was hit, and all of a sudden you only need one person to say Dead Darius, and they be like, "Who? Darius? Dead? Darius got hit by the car? There he go over there."
Mm-hmm. That's a possibility. Big possibility. Yeah, there were the youngest of those victims that were hit by the car in that 2-week period was a little girl. She was like 4 years old. Now, one of the things I don't know if I missed this was the people that were hitting the children with cars, were they white?
I don't think
Say.
it was.
I didn't know if I missed that.
Yeah, and they didn't say.
That was a high note from back there.
Maybe she definitely.
She was just trying to hit that whistle note.
Yeah, she had that right
Still
there.
waiting for her parents to come pick her up.
But even without looking at the pictures, that statue was still creepy. I was like, this statue scary as hell.
And they said it had blue eyes and they looked real. Like the eyes.
Well, they said that originally that those statues were made in Germany.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even the woman that said that they were larger than most statues that were able to be purchased.
Ron Jockey ones.
Yeah. Ron Jockeys are really small, and this was huge. And in Germany and Belgium, and they have that one festival once a year where they all do blackface and stuff. So things like that, weird shit like that happens where they celebrate.
I remember being in first grade at Pacific Avenue School, and we used to play marbles in the field, and there was a house right behind the field, and everyone said that the witch lived in there, and don't play your marbles by her house because she'll steal them and she'll steal you, and she eats kids. and all this stuff. And you couldn't tell me that woman wasn't a witch and she wasn't gonna steal my marbles and she wasn't gonna eat me. You only gotta tell me once. And I did not go back by that fence. Now the lady could have been the nicest Christian woman you could ever met, making little tea cakes and cucumber sandwiches and everything. But you
Leonardo was making tea cakes, and we know what they were made out of. So you were smart to.
You couldn't tell me that lady wasn't a witch.
You were smart. Now let me ask this: the initial myth started with the mother being so grief stricken that she either stuffed or waxed her child. Do you think that something like that really happened?
To that mother?
Who would do it for her? And no,
you're just saying in general.
Yeah.
Again, we're going back to taxidermy.
You know what? I was literally going to say that. I was literally going to say that word while ago. I was going to say, Brandy, taxidermy. I was literally about to say that word.
I don't, since it's a very honest job, I don't think nobody's going to stuff your child. There got to be some laws or something against that because it's an honest business.
Well, in the South, they did, until maybe the 1980s, mid 80s or whatever, they used to have wakes in the house. So you could still have your human remains in your house for a period of time before they were buried. I know this because my great grandmother, we had a wake for her in the house for days.
Why do they call it a wake? She gonna wake up?
You stay awake with the body, literally. That's why it's called a wake. The body is in your home. Yes, the body is in your home. You dress and prepare the body, and they will have the body in the home, and the family members will stay awake around the body remains, and you talk and you eat and you celebrate and you talk about the person.
It's actually, they say it makes it more bearable. Like it's easier to process and deal with the grief and everything. I was watching a documentary with Brandy. She wasn't watching it, but I was on the phone. Remember that family? It was a Mexican family who's kept their father. No, it wasn't Mexican. It was one of those people that take the bodies out the ground and put them.
They're in like the Philippines or something.
Yeah. I watched one about the Mexicans too, but this is different. They left the dad inside the house for like a year.
Until they had enough money to bury him.
And because they wanted him to look right. So they would feed him, bring him water. The family members would go sit with him, talk with him. And she says that dealing with the loss and everything is easier if you do it that way. And then you just girl.
And also in ethnic communities, and not just in African American communities, Jewish people call it sitting Shiva. I believe that's the term that it's called. Irish people do a wake as well, so it is kind of like an ethnic cultural thing where
I'm pretty sure people still have them.
Yeah, I'm quite sure. But that's the same thing as when you have a funeral and you have what we call now viewing the body. That's a wake. Where you go prior to the funeral and you go sit in the chapel and the prepared body is there. That's a wake, but you're doing it in an external setting instead of doing it in your home. But a wake is basically you stay with that someone in the family is constantly with the deceased until it's time to put them in the ground. So they're never by themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are going back to doing that.
Yeah. It wasn't weird for me, Jackie. I see your face. My grandmother and her sisters, they actually prepared the body for burial. They dressed and they washed her and everything like that. And that in this country, of course, with African American people, that goes back because no funeral home would do anything. So you had to, you had to do that. And of course, that's, probably carry over from the continent where that was
you didn't have nowhere to store that body. No,
that's a common practice. So things like that. Now, this is a very interesting story as far as stuffing a body and keeping it. In the 1930s, I believe, there was a doctor, I think his name is Von Kossel or something like that. He was a scientist and he had some vision. One of his family members gave him a vision or something that he was going to meet a dark, exotic woman, and that was going to be his soulmate. Well, he was a doctor and he worked at a sanitarium. And this young woman comes in and she's dark, she's exotic, and he falls instantly in love with her. He gives her gifts and he does all this stuff for her. She dies of tuberculosis, right? Well, he pays for her funeral. He also builds a mausoleum for her.
Mm.
And every day he goes to visit this mausoleum. Well, after a while, it's not good enough for him. So he steals her body out of the mausoleum and takes it to his house. He basically waxes her and to preserve her. And he puts all these perfumes to mask the smell or whatever. He also makes a fake vagina so that he can. This is a true story, y'all. This is a true story.
See, I was literally literally with you. I was like, okay, he got his goddess, his queen, and then you had to throw that in there.
This is a true story. He makes a vagina for her. And it's
How
kind
do
of
you make
like
a vagina with it's already a vagina?
it
already
was well because it wasn't functional. Because your vagina is made out of tissue and it's going to deteriorate. So he made like this skin balloon and he
put it in the same spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you said it deteriorates. So did he put it like?
Yes. So that he can have relations with
a dead wax woman.
Yes. He made like this mask, for like he kept waxing her face so she would be preserved and everything. Well, anyway, he does this for years. Her family is like, wait a minute, we can't find the body or whatever. So they suspect it's him. They go and they find her in the bed. He had her put together with all kinds of strings and wires or whatever, he's doing constant repair on her.
Got a picture of this woman.
I will find. Yes, let me.
Did he do her butthole too?
I don't know if he did that.
What's her name again?
Well,
let me see if I can find it. I believe it's Von Castle.
So did he get charged with whatever it is of a dead body? You guys is looking nice.
Yes, his name was Carl Tanzler, or as the Count Carl von Castle.
Yeah, that's him.
In the victim's name was Elena Milagro de Hoyos. And
I've seen this story.
Yes. When they found her and him, there was seminal evidence still left inside the sleeve inside of her body.
Would he clean it out with one of them bottle brushes?
Sorry.
I'm just wondering, you can't leave that in there.
So sorry.
I'm just put it on her thing.
It's a good question.
You can't leave that in there.
I mean, she's already dead, so it really doesn't matter.
Then he put in.
It's going to smell.
She's dead.
He's not.
Bro, he is having sex with a dead body. It does. He's past.
You think he's doing like the whole enchilada?
All that slack will collect.
Is he doing the whole enchilada?
What?
Yes,
the whole thing.
With the beans and rice.
You just don't go in there. You just don't hit it and go about your business. It's a moment to get there.
Enchiladas, beans, and rice. The whole plate.
That's why I'm saying he's gonna have to put that bottle, put it on a drill.
Well, the sleeve was removable.
So
he took it out, rinsed it out, and put it back in.
Kind of like a diva cup.
He nasty.
I was getting trouble. I'll be laughing at stuff I ain't supposed to.
You done messed up enchiladas for me for a minute.
Jackie said enchilada. And I just said, you said the whole enchilada, and I said that with the beans and rice.
So nasty. Oh. Did you see the picture? I'm gonna send it to you, Brandy.
Yes, Brandy.
Oh, you said, yeah, because
they've done several. They did a story like this on Criminal Minds. They did a story like this on a different show as well. It was?
See?
Girl, I missed that episode.
There's a website. It's a Criminal Minds website where you can go to it, and it will tell you, like, based off of famous murders and crimes, which Criminal Minds episode it lines up with.
That's nice.
So where they've taken details from that crime and made it into an episode. I forget the name of the website, but it's Criminal Minds something. But it'll tell you where that crime fits into the Criminal Minds episode.
In that episode, he kidnapped a girl from when she was a little kid, and she ended up killing herself. And he preserved her body and was having sex with her. And her mom shows up, and he tries to keep the mom away, saying, "Okay, I'll let you see your daughter." And when she goes to the room, she finds her in a mummified state, and he's still feeding her and all kinds of stuff.
So when y'all say feeding, when you say feeding her,
not feeding her literally, he's bringing her a tray of food. He's bringing her
going through the motion.
He's combing her hair. Mm-hmm. He's spraying the perfume on her. There's flowers all over the room. This is in the episode.
Mm-hmm, boo. I said something. That's just crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Girl, yeah.
Well, the reason why I brought that up is because people actually do, in a grief stricken state, do crazy stuff. I mean, we talked about Ed Gein, and how he, wanted to. I mean, think about the movie Psycho, which is based off of Ed Gein. Norman had his mother preserved and parts of her preserved, and then took over her identity. So it's just crazy that people, Darius is a myth, an urban legend in Birmingham, but just think about what that urban legend was based off of. Have we really been able to find that Darius is debunked as a real person, but is there a person that happened to? You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
Was there someone who wasn't buried?
That makes sense. But I don't know.
So if you guys want to watch that video on Dead Darius, it is on YouTube. I will post the link in the description. And the researcher her name is Traciy Curry-Reyes, and she is the founder and editor-in-chief of TV Crime Sky. So she actually is a true crime and entertainment freelance writer. So this just kind of caught her, and she just kept going with it and kept going and kept knocking on doors and finding out and, getting the people, it's hard to get old Black people to trust you.
Which I think she said, like, in one of the part of her documentary, she was like, he did not trust her. And
yes,
it took some time.
The man she found out that was the little boy that was playing in the yard of the Taggart's house, he actually has custody of Dead Darius in their yard because people were trying to steal it and whatever. So they took it to another city in Alabama where they live. And so they have Dead Darius in their yard. So that's why the wife said that he was the little boy. But
he wouldn't even tell that. His wife had to tell it.
Yeah, he wouldn't tell it.
He was like, "Nah, you need to talk to
the old man." Because my grandfather would say hi to me and say, let me let you talk to your grandma.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk to your mama? No, I ain't called to talk to her, Daddy. I called to talk to you. Talk to your mama real quick. So she got these old people, and even Mr. Riley. Mr. Riley was like, "Girl, come on in here. We can't be talking to this. No, come on in here."
Mm-hmm.
But we can, but it's very hard to get old Black people to trust you and talk to you because they're very secretive. And that's why I say to me, there seems to be a little bit more to this story than just what she found. Maybe like Brandy, like you guys said, the children that were hit by the car, maybe this started from them. Maybe one of their mothers was so poor that they couldn't bury them and
I
kept
don't know.
them.
Everybody seems very secretive, hushy. If when I was watching that documentary, I was like, they seem a little hushy. I mean, they're telling things, but they still seem just a tad bit
Because it's
kind of
probably
like
something that some white folks has weaved in the story and they don't want to tell that
right.
part.
It's
That's
something.
why
It's something happened.
that's why I asked, with the children that were hit by the children that were hit by the cars, were they, the person who hit them in a 10-day period, 3 or 4 kids got killed. Were
Mm-hmm.
those kids killed by a white person?
It's very
Um,
possible.
and Elgin Hills was a black neighborhood, so and anytime black people having a good neighborhood and quite affluent, we already know, especially in the South, it's not going to turn out well. So,
Or it could have been one of the drunk cousins, and you don't want to tell that part about your drunk cousin because that brings shame onto your family name.
Mm-hmm.
True.
That too.
Drunk cousin
Something.
who was loose down at the juke joint with them unsaved women.
Unsafe women.
The women living that life of sin.
Jesus.
Another urban myth, one that's close to my family. Okay, and then we'll stop. Okay, because all right. So when I was a little girl, we go to Alabama, and when I tell you we live in Willacoochee, Alabama, we was a bunch of hillbillies out of
Willacoochee.
way down there, deep in the holler, right? So both sets of my great grandparents, one of them lived in Clark County, and the other lived in Wilcox County, and it was separated by this little creek. Well, once you got to the little creek, you can make a left to go to Pine Hill. Like if you to go up this road to Pine Hill. And you go about like 17 country miles, which is like 50 miles in the city, right? Well, my grandmother would go visit this lady. And I was never allowed to go all the way to her house. Ever. I was allowed to go right in the foyer. No further than that. My grandmother would go in. My grandfather stayed outside. My grandma would go in. She would take food to this lady, and they would talk for hours. And I would always try to go around the side of the house to find out what she looked like. Never found out what she looked like. Well, I was talking to my mom, and this is a couple within the last few years. And my mom told me that this lady used to be a teacher. Right? Used to be my grandmother's teacher. She was a northern lady. So, they used to have teachers from the north come to teach in the south. And she was beautiful, beautiful lady. Bright skin, which, we call light skin, but bright skin lady. And she came down there, she got involved with this woman's husband.
Uh-oh.
She got involved with this woman's husband, and this woman put a root on her. And
I don't know about that. They may not know about that root.
They put a root on her.
That
yes,
root on her.
You do right by me. And basically, this woman had leprosy, like in real life had leprosy. Like real life, when I was a little girl, she had leprosy. But the myth was that she got it because she was messing with this woman's husband, and she put a root on her. So she took her looks from her to where her skin, and leprosy can, attacks the skin and everything. So that's what happened to her, was that she got a root put on her because she's messing with this woman's husband. But in real life, she had leprosy. So this myth and the truth are like this, have intersected. And I always wondered why I was never allowed to go in that woman's house. But every time we visited, my grandmother would go take her food, and they would talk for hours, and people would just go ahead and take her food over there because she could never come out of her house. So that's one of those.
She didn't get no medication for her leprosy.
I mean, during that time, my grandmother was, kid.
I don't mean this is her face. It can be
what
kind of serious she look.
Medicine is there for leprosy in the 30s?
They had leprosy in Bible time, so by now they got to have some kind of cream.
But they also had leper colonies too.
Stop, Jackie.
But they also had leper colonies where they would just make people go away and live by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they got you black people from black folk, and they ain't got no elixir, no salve.
If they put a root on this woman, would you want to go give her aid? If somebody put a root on her, you don't want to go to her. You don't want to go help her.
No, ain't no root gonna do nothing.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, we are ending the show on this note. We just thank you so much for joining us for this episode, talking about dead Darius and other things that we found in the news. We will see you all next week. Stay blessed, drink that extra cup, and we out of here because I'm not going to do this with her.
She said elixir.
I'm not about to do this with you. Nope.
We need to bow our head and pray.
Ooh,
And we have,
I have to hold that in. That hurt.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see y'all next week.
Just reach your hand forward.